Okay, so whilst we've used them in a couple of other programs, namely the move motor when we were storing the value from the ultrasonic sensor, I think it's time to have a little bit of a talk about variables. Now here we can see we've got a workspace open. We've got our on start block here. We've got a menu. You can see here underneath logic and above math, we've got our variables menu. When we click on it, it's actually empty because a program doesn't contain any variables until you create them. And as we go into Python, we'll look at how this is done in text, but to create a variable here is really quite straightforward. You just click on variables, go make variable, and we're just going to call this one name. And we're going to put that in there, and we're going to click OK. And we've got it, see here now, I've called this name because I'm actually going to put a text value. I'm going to put a name in here, but we're going to look at how we can store numbers as well. So I'm going to create another one, and I'm just going to call it num. And what's really important with variables is that the name that you give them should reflect what they're going to store. So if we're going to store a name, I'm going to call it name. If we're going to store a number, I'm going to call it number. Or if I'm storing something like the light level or the temperature level, which we'll look at in this as well, I might call them light or temp. But here we are, and I've got my variables all set up and ready to go. So here we're going to store a number in a variable, and to show how it just stores a number, what we're actually going to use is we're not going to use anything from maths. We're just going to use input, and we're just going to store a value from the light level in there. So we're going to use our number variable. If I was going to create one for the light level, I would go through and I would call it light, and I'd create it from there. But here, I want to get set my variable name to, and you notice here, it just shows the name of one of them, but we have the drop down as we do in many different bits, and when we click on the drop down, we can pick. So on start, set to, and we can pick number here. Now, because we're going to show how this can update, we're actually not going to put it in on start. What we're going to use is forever, so it's constantly taking a reading of what's there. So set number 2, and we're going to go to input, and I'm going to get light level, and that gets dropped in there. So we've got the oval shaped block, it just snaps in. Now, this is constantly running, and it's actually doing this right now. So you can see here the light level. I can change this, and actually every time I let go of my mouse and change this, it's altering what's stored in here. The simple fact is we can't see it because nothing is being displayed. So now we're just going to show it. We're going to go to basic. It's a number, so we're going to have to use show number here because we want to keep it as a number. We don't want to change it to anything. So show number, it's not showing the light level though, it's just showing 0, so we need to tell it to show the variable. So you go to variables here, and here I've got my 2 oval blocks. That's the name for my text one, and here is my number one. So I can get that, and I can drop that in there. So now it's storing it. See, it's currently at 128. That's what's set through here, and we know it's storing it. We can see these names match here. So if I change this now, if I turn it up, 255, when it scrolls around again, because you've got that little bit of lag where it changes, but we can change it to 38. So now we've got a number stored in it. And then we could use that in an if statement, and because it's a number, we can do that. Okay, so now we're going to do a text variable. Now, in the microbit, a text variable is a little bit more involved to put together. In Python, it's just as quick and just involves the adding of speech marks. But here, we've got to just put it together. So on start, first of all, and we're going to have this created at the start of the program rather than being something that's monitored constantly. We're going to get set to, set it to name, that's there. So now we're working on the right variable. Now we need to change the input here, so it's not a number, it's actually a string. So we open the advanced menu and we find this text one here. And from here, we're just going to take the top option. Now all of these other ones are to do with text strings and adding them together and seeing how long they are or finding elements of them. But all we want is this top one, which sets the value to now. So now we can see it's got speech marks in there. So we can put in our name. So there we go. Now we just need to display it. So we're going to do this on a button press. So on a button pressed, basic. Now it's not a number, it is a string because it's text. So show string. Obviously, this would just say hello if I was to press the button now. We see hello scrolling across the screen, but we need it to say Mr. Parsons. So we're going to go to variables. We're going to get our oval shaped name block. We're going to drop that, and we're going to add that into there, and we're going to let go. And now, when we click on it, it's whatever is typed in here will go there. So you could start to set things up. So you could do all sorts of things. You could set things to be rock, paper, scissors, put them on. You could have it built into your program. So that's how you create and add variables in. So that's something to have a think about and have a go with inside your program.